Hi, welcome to my tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to ganache a cake, cover a cake board and then ice it with fondant. I'm just going to talk you through the equipment here. I have a spirit level, I've got a small palette knife and I've got a set square that I got from my local DIY store just to make sure the sides stay straight. Here's my side scraper, very nice to use, lovely handle, makes it really comfortable especially if you're ganaching lots of cakes. I've got some boiling water sitting in the cup there on the table, and here's the acrylic discs. Now these have been pre-made. You can use small cake boards, but you'd need to cut away the edge of your cake and it's quite messy and you can end up with bits of foil in your ganache or buttercream. So here you can see there's a nice rim that goes round and that's where the filling will sit between the two boards. There's my chocolate ganache in the bowl. The first thing we're going to do is place our cake on a board. So as you can see, the boards are slightly larger than the cake itself. I'm going to place a spirit level on top and I'm just going to give it a little tweak to make sure that we start with a cake that is completely level, because there's nothing worse than a wonky cake if it's not meant to be. So I'm going to take the spirit level off, and what I'm going to do is fill in between the gaps there between the two boards. But the first thing we do is we just start with one board. So take our chocolate ganache, which is nice and warm, and then we're going to give it a nice layer going around the outside. Of course, you can also use this method for buttercream, but I'm going to do it with chocolate ganache today. So I'm just going to give it its first layer. Now this isn't going to look tidy, it's just giving me a base to work with. So apply the thin layer of ganache to the top and the side of the sponge cake. Your cake's been in the fridge and we've taken it out, and now you can feel that it's nice and firm. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to put the ganache board on top, and then what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that it's level again, and we want to make sure that they're both in line with each other on each side as well. And you do this with your set square. Now we're going to apply the second layer of ganache. So we're going to be filling the gap between the two boards now. So this layer is going to look a little neater, but it certainly isn't going to look perfect. So don't worry if you've got small flaws and it doesn't look quite smooth, that will come as we go along. We're almost there, and we're going to start using the side scraper here. So put a nice healthy layer on, it doesn't matter if it's bulky, and then just go all the way around with your side scraper, placing the excess back in the ganache bowl. So move slowly round and round until you've got something that looks a little more even than what you had before. But again, this isn't going to look perfect, so don't worry. So you can see there that we're starting to get a nice layer at the top. So we want to turn the sponge cake upside down. Again, this is for ganache and also for buttercream. And then we're going to fill the gap there that we've got at the bottom, just the same as we did before. So apply a nice thick layer, because we can remove the excess with the side scraper. Keep going all the way round. And now you'll start to find that you're getting a nice straight side on your cake. Of course, we've got to move that again, remove the excess away with the side scraper. Keep going all the way round. Just as we did earlier. And when your ganache is warm or the buttercream is warm as you worked with it, you'll find that this will come away nice and easy. So it's certainly looking better than it did before, but we haven't finished yet. It does take a little while, but it's so nice. to have a straight side cake. So you can see that there's some flaws there, but don't worry, we're just going to place it in the fridge to dry this layer. This is the final layer of ganache. So what we're going to do is we're just going to fill in these little bits here that where we have them missing. So again, nice and warm ganache, or your buttercream of course, and go around and just apply it to the side of the cake. And then take your side scraper and remove the excess. And what you'll start to see is that you've got a really nice base forming for your cake. Once you've done this, you place it in the fridge for the last time, and then once it's nice and cold, we need to remove the top. So we're going to use the very thin palette knife there, and dipping it in boiling water, and I'm just going to go around really gently around the top to remove that board. Some people put greaseproof paper, but I've never needed it. We're going to place it on our cake board, and I'm going to turn it upside down. Now we need to remove the other acrylic board, or cake board if that's what you're using. And we're just going to make the top look nice and neat as well. Almost done. Just using the side scraper here just to go across the top, and one last go around the sides. Perfect. Now I'm going to show you how to cover a cake board with fondant. I think this gives your cake a real professional looking finish. Knead your fondant well and roll it out. If you have any air pockets, then pop them with a pin, put it in at a slant. Roll your paste out again. Keep turning it so it doesn't stick to your work surface. Keep rolling it out till it's big enough for your board. That's perfect. Not too thick and not too thin. Smooth it over. Wet your board with some water. And place on top. Smooth over again with your fondant smoother. And use a fondant knife to remove the excess around the board. If you have any air pockets, then pop them with a pin again. One last smooth. Perfect. This part is optional. Some people like to remove the centre and then reuse the fondant inside. The final part of this tutorial is demonstrating how to cover a cake with the sharp edge finish. Dust your work surface well, knead your fondant and roll it out. Keep turning your fondant so it doesn't stick to your work surface, and keep rolling until you have the size that you require. If you have any air pockets, then pop them with a pin going in at a slight angle and keep rolling. Smooth your fondant over and lift and place on top of your cake. This cake is 7 inches wide and 5 inches deep. Use your smoother around the top and start to attach the fondant. All the way round. You would have applied some sugar syrup or water to your ganache or frosting buttercream base on top of your sponge cake before applying the fondant. Keep lifting your fondant as you go and keep tapping it down with your hand. Doing this gently, you don't want to overstretch the fondant. Keep moving the whole way around your cake. Keep lifting
and pushing back down again. You need to be a little patient with this sometimes. The deeper the cake, the harder it can be. Now we're going to remove the excess around the bottom of the cake with a fondant knife. You don't need to be too neat at this point. We just want to remove the excess. Keep patting it down to make sure that it's attached to your cake. So you can see we've got quite a few creases and marks where we've been touching it with our hands. So we're going to go around with 2 smoothers. Keep trimming as you go. This may require a little amount of work and some patience. Continue to neaten up the bottom of your cake as you go. It doesn't matter how long you take when you do this. Just keep going until you're happy. Now, as you can see, there's a few marks and creases as you go around. The smoothers don't always completely take these away. This is where the acetates are perfect for erasing away the final creases or any cracks that you may have on the fondant on your cake. So this again requires a little patience. Keep going around. As you're rubbing the fondant, it warms it up and helps it move around, and the cracks and any creases will disappear. So you can see we have one here. I'm going to rub this with my acetate. Now I made these myself. I bought some sewing template online. You can buy sets of them. Sometimes there's a number of acetates in a set. I only ever use 2. I've never needed more than that. I have one larger one and one smaller one, and that's the beauty of making my own. I was able to just cut them to the size that I wanted. You can also trim the bottom of your cake with your acetates too. Now we're going to give your cake a sharp edge. I've come in a little closer so hopefully you can see what we're doing here. So I placed the larger one on top and the smaller one at the bottom. I'm going to show you a couple of different ways. So nice and simple, you don't need to rub hard. You can see the difference here. So just that small section, one on top, and what you need to do is place the smaller one all the way up so you can feel the top of the acetate that's on the side of the cake touching the bottom of the acetate that's on the top. So just continuing all the way round. And you can see the edge sharpening up. Keep going. You want to go the whole way around the top of your cake. I'm a little fussy. Sometimes I can keep going and going with this, but you don't want to overwork the fondant. You don't want to make any marks on it or create any air pockets. Now sometimes it's quite nice, some people like to use a smoother on top of their acetate because this gives a nice firm edge. So I've just shown a quick demo there. Or what you do is you place the 2 together and just give a slight small pinch. So rather than a lot of rubbing, hopefully you can see that sharp edge there that's been achieved by using the acetates. So here we go again. As you can see, I'm just slightly pinching the edge. This is another way of achieving the sharp edge. Everyone has their own preference, and with experience you'll learn which one is yours. Here's a cake I made a number of years back with the round edge. I always think the sharp edge cake makes the cake look taller and gives it a nice modern and contemporary look.
Here's my Winnie the Pooh cake that I made a couple of years later, once I'd learned how to create that sharp edge finish. If you like my tutorial today, then please give me a thumbs up, and if you'd like to be kept up to date, then please subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.